to listen to the Lapped Traffic Podcast.
Oh, Lap Traffic Nation, welcome to episode 232 of the Lap Traffic Podcast. I am your host, the Professor Brandon Crowd, joined by my co-host this evening. He is from Jayski.com. It's Dustin Albino. Dustin, what's going on, man? How are you?
Not much, Brandon. Lots happened since the last time we spoke. How are you?
It's been a minute. I am good, man. You know, it's a snowy April 1st day here in Metro Detroit. The Tigers won, the Yankees lost, but some tell me those things are going to flip-flop pretty soon.
Probably so. You're probably right. Yes, I'm a big Yankees fan. You're a big Tigers fan. I see you with your sweatshirt on.
Yes, I love it. Very nice.
Nothing like opening day in baseball, America's game.
Absolutely, man. I mean, is opening day as big of a thing? I mean, Metro Detroit, under normal circumstances, I mean, they throw a massive party downtown. It's food vendors, it's pop-up tent vendors, it's 30,000 people that would be in the stadium, and 250,000 people just hanging out, tailgating and setting up shop downtown Detroit, it's an awesome vibe. Normally, have you partook in opening day festivities in the past?
I have not. I'm recently moved to Syracuse, and we have the Syracuse Mets. Before that, so obviously the AAA team of the Mets.
Yeah.
Before that, they were the AAA team of the Nationals, and before that, they were the AAA team of the Blue Jays. So it's kind of bounced around. But I think the Mets have 8 more years left on their current deal or something. So I have not partaken in that, but it's right. It's 10 minutes down the street from me.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. So I got to share a funny story real quick. So I put out on Twitter a few minutes ago before we recorded that I've got my annual once a year beer that I'm going to choke down. Dustin saw it already. We're on the video chat. He confirmed it. So the funny story with that is my buddy owns a sports bar here in Metro Detroit, and they used to do like an opening day, hop on a big tour bus, and it would take you from the bar downtown, bring you back, and he advertised a lot on the local Detroit sports station. So he used to get some passes for their private party, and it was free food and free beer. And it's like, well, it's kind of hard to make mixed drinks when you're walking around downtown and all that. So opening day would be the one day for like the last 7-8 years that I would just choke down beer. So I've got my beer, I've got my vodka chaser next to it, but we'll see if I can get through that one glass of beer in the 60-minute show.
Also, anything free is for me.
Absolutely. Right? So I got some text from Bob and all that, and he's like, "Where's your beer?" I'm like, "I'm gonna have it later," and I had texted him a picture. So the once a year beer tradition on opening day continues. So
nice.
Well, Lap Traffic Nation, Manscaped has confirmed they will be back. That's going to start back up here in a couple weeks, which I'm very excited about. Dustin. Well, like you said, it's been a minute since we've last done this. You've put out some pretty cool articles over at Jayski. If you want to hit on those, I really enjoyed the Jeremy Clements article. Just a great start to their year up there in the standings, and it's not just that top 15, top 20 finish. They're actually out there fighting for some solid top 10s and top 15s, which is a big improvement for that team.
Indeed, on sheer speed too. Like obviously these Xfinity races get a little rowdy, get a little wild at times, but you got to be there at the end, and they are. And he thinks they're a top 10 to 12 team, and I mean, you look at it, they are. And right now they're 9th in points. It is going to be hard to stay in that playoffs because you got the 98 behind them, Noah Graxon's behind him in points. There's a few drivers that are stacked, with the top tier teams that are coming for him. It's all in the article. Go check it out at jayski.com. But yeah, Jeremy Clements, I really like doing stories on all drivers in the Xfinity series because that is, I'm unbiased, but it is my favorite series in NASCAR, just to cover because there's so many unique storylines, especially this year. But it's cool to see the underdogs overachieve. And I had an article last week on Landon Castle too, and they've done pretty well for JD Motorsports through the first 6 races. So it's kind of weird to having the Xfinity series off 2 straight weekends.
I know, right? Yeah, like I was I was stunned when I was, putting like the fantasy league together and building out the next couple weeks of like the Excel sheet for that. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean Xfinity is not running at Bristol? And we'll save that because we'll get to that down in a little bit here because I think that's worth a lot more time than just the intro here. I want to hit the real quick on Landon Castle there. Landon's being a really good friend of the show. I got to know him a lot more personally working with him in the E-Racer series with Parker Kligerman and all that. And Landon, had a really good start. I think it was Homestead. It was Homestead or the road course maybe that they had a bad outing there, but I really think that team's going to be up there in the top 10 contending, and you get him at the right road course maybe. Landon is going to be a force to be reckoned with, I think, once they get their feet wet a little bit more.
And as you know, Brandon, it all comes down to funding. So these are two drivers that we're talking about right now with smaller teams. It looks like the 51 with Clements is going to have the most funding it's had ever, which is crazy. Year, where there's still not much activation at the racetrack for the smaller teams anyway. But yeah, Landon, he's had a decent start to the year. 4 top 20s, no finished worse than 23rd, and that was at Daytona in the season opener where he was in contention for the lead late. Yeah, and he got caught up in a wreck. So, personally, I think the series is too stacked this year. There's too much competition at the top. It's really top heavy for the 4 team to make the playoffs. But you never know. It's a little bit of a wild card year with so many new places on the venue, and he's got a lot of experience. So his goal and Johnny Davis's goal for Landon is just to turn that program around and kind of get it back to where it was a couple of years ago. Absolutely.
No, those are 2 guys that are going to be fun to watch. Like you said, behind the 98, behind the 22, behind the 7, we know those guys are going to go out there. They're going to perform. It's going to be fun to watch who gets that 10th, 11th, 12th spot in the playoffs as we get down the road. I know we talked the last time we did this, in terms of maybe there being a little bit more of a points battle this year in the Xfinity Series, which is going to be a lot of fun to watch. That's for sure.
I do think it's going to be a points battle. And, you look at Brandon Jones is also behind Jeremy Clements in points right now, I think, and Michael Annett. So, there's a lot of guys, Gregson, Ryan Siegs had a terrible start to the year, and he's mired back there, so he might even have to win with the way the points are right now. But yeah, I do think it's going to be like 15, 16 cars battling for 12 spots. So that's a good thing.
That's awesome. Yes, that's fantastic. All right, Lap Traffic Nation. Just to remind you guys, this is Dustin and mine second edition of our bonus show content. We're going to be doing these every couple weeks. Please feel free, send your questions, your comments, whatever you want to hear us talk about. It's a lot more open forum, loose format than the usual Tuesday show. Send it our way. If you got some segment ideas, we're open to them as we do these every couple weeks. So thanks. We got a ton of content and stuff that we're going to work into the show tonight, and definitely looking forward to it. And as Dustin mentioned, make sure you go check out his stuff on the Xfinity page at jayski.com. And if you haven't checked out Tuesday's show with Kevin Nevelin from NASCAR talking about the Advance My Track Challenge, Grant Enfinger was on Tuesday. Make sure you go check out episode 231. And coming up this Tuesday, I'm really excited about this. There might not be any racing to recap, and I thought that's the perfect opportunity to get 2 of NASCAR's favorite Twitter parody accounts on the show. It is looking pretty solid that The Orange Cone and NASCAR Chasm both will be on the show Tuesday. So that'll be at least a 2.5-hour show, because once you get those guys going, they don't stop, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to Tuesday. Dustin, anything you got coming up project-wise? Anything you want to tease?
Yeah, so since the last time we did our first one, it was later that week, my first pieces on NASCAR.com debuted. So I'm not going to say what, but as of right now, it looks like we're having another piece come out next week on NASCAR.com. So just go check .com. Go check it out.
Awesome. That's great. All right. So coming up tonight, we are obviously going to talk about Bristol this year, next year. Got your listener feedback from Bristol. We're going to mix in a little March Madness and a little WrestleMania because that's right around the corner. Some social media stuff, and we'll close it out with some listener questions. So let's kick things off, sir. Let's talk some Bristol. Initial thoughts, over the 72 hours of Bristol from raining on, well, even practice on Friday, all the way through running on Monday with the double. What was just some of your initial thoughts throughout the weekend and after Monday?
Literally was 72 hours because we had practice this weekend. Yeah. So no lying there. Look, growing up, I went to dirt tracks all around Central New York. There's, 5, 6 within 45 minutes of me, probably to an hour. So I love dirt racing. I truly do. Now I've said this online. I've said this on Twitter, on SiriusXM Radio, wherever, I've been asked about it. I love the concept of dirt racing at the couple of, truly do. But I wish it was at a dirt track. And some of that's because of Bristol Motor Speedway. Like Bristol, that holds a special place. That's in my heart because that's my favorite place to watch a race. Sure. And any race fan, if they look, where should I go for my first race? I'm going to point them to Bristol. Yeah. Because you're going to get everything that is racing at Bristol Motor Speedway. You're going to get some good racing, some contact, some tempers flaring, maybe a helmet thrown like Tony Stewart in 2013 or 2012. So Bristol is the best track, I think, on the circuit. So I'm a little worried now that, you're seeing all the dirt races that are being put on outside of NASCAR. I'm kind of concerned that maybe one day it could go to 2 races on dirt. And I know Dale Jr. kind of hinted that, his guess was in 5 years from now, it'll be a dirt track.
Wow.
I hope that's not the case.
No. Yeah. So my thought with this is one, I get 100% why they're going to go back to Bristol. In my opinion, they were the first one to do this. You want to reward their efforts, hopefully with a season, or a race next season. Maybe Mother Nature will be on our side. Maybe we can let more fans into the track, next year. So I get the reward and I get going back to Bristol. I 100% would love, like you said, to see them get to an actual dirt track and race it there. I think the one thing that might prohibit that is our dirt tracks tend to be a little bit smaller. From a capacity standpoint, if we still have to social distance 2-3 years from now, is a 10,000 capacity dirt track that now we're only going to put in 2,500 or 3,000. I see that being the one thing that might really be the only hindering factor in going to a quote unquote legit dirt track.
Well, then also all the tracks in NASCAR that the schedule runs are either owned by NASCAR or SMI. Yeah. So, COTA and Road America, they're leased out this year. So I think you're right, though. I think this ticket, and we'll talk about this later because we had some questions about it, but it's going to be a hot ticket next year. It truly is. Yes. No. Like I said, it's an event, so I totally understand why it's going back to Bristol, and I'm okay with it, honestly. As much as I just said a couple minutes ago, give it another shot because I think, from what we saw on Monday between trucks and especially the Cup race, there's so much that NASCAR learned, I'm sure, and they'll just implement it better. Hopefully, it's a night race next year, not day.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, and I think part of that would be because of obviously the dust. I mean, when you have dust and a glare from the sun, it's you can't see enough as it is in the dirt, let alone from the sun. So, there's a few changes NASCAR I think needs to make and should make, and I think they probably will make. Sure. But overall, it's an event. It was really, really cool to see NASCAR on dirt. The Cup Series.
I agree. And one more thing, then we can talk about the racing for a minute, but to just kind of piggyback off what you said and with what Dale Jr. said, for how many years did we only have 2 road course races in Atlanta or Sonoma and Watkins Glen? For years, it always just felt like those were the only 2, right? And the Xfinity Series would tackle a couple more with Road America, So, and now here we are. What do we had 7 this year now with the addition of the Daytona Road Course. A
little too much,
right? So it's what's that fine line? The fans love the road course racing now. I think a lot of that probably has to do with the package, and fans would rather see beating and banging on a road course in a short track than at a mile and a half track. So if it's a trend, that is what's wanted now, okay, maybe we do get 5, but then maybe they get tired of it and we drop that off. Who knows what this new car and the new package next year is going to bring? Maybe we love 1.5 miles again. I have no idea. So don't
get your hopes up.
I know. So it's a matter of, I guess if it sells, right? I mean, it's like you had said a little bit ago, it's all about funding. And if it sells tickets, and it's not the cluster bleep that we were a little bit worried that we might get, I guess I guess there's nothing wrong with throwing water or pasta at the wall and see what sticks for a minute.
And I don't think it was, I think it was a good race personally. I think the truck race was, the beginning of both races were really good. And why is that? Well, it's because the track was packed down and it didn't have rubber on it. And once the middle of both races kind of got strung out, but then the end of the Cup race was great too. It was fantastic. Between Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano. That's just classic racing, short track racing. That's what you'd see on a concrete Bristol. So I really don't have many complaints about the race at all. I thought it was two thumbs up in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I said this on the show Tuesday, and I think the Cup race, it was great. I really enjoyed it. And I think it would have been even better had they would have had overnight and morning to manicure it. Between the truck race and the Cup race, if they'd have been able to till that dirt a lot more than what they were just able to do in that 2-hour break, I think that would have even provided for better racing. So, and it wasn't bad, like you said. So, all these factors that can make next year better than what this year was, and this year was pretty good. So, I'm not upset about it by any means.
And I think that was why the last stage was good too, because you obviously had these 50-lap increments and where there was mandatory pit stops, or I guess optional pit stops, but you needed to pit with the tire wear.
Yeah.
But NASCAR took the time to prep the track ahead of the final stage. And I think that's why the final stage was good. It was just like the beginning of the race. You could move all over the track.
Absolutely. I'm with you there. All right, man. Next year, does Xfinity need to be running this race?
I don't know. I've seen mixed opinions from the drivers on Twitter. I haven't talked to any of them about it personally, but you're going to get the big teams, or like Justin Allgaier, who's vocal about it. He's also a dirt racer. Yeah. In his spare time, but it's a lot of money for just one race. Absolutely. Because those cars were torn up on Monday.
Yes.
I mean, did you see Ryan Blaney's car? He finished 8th with it.
Yep.
So for some teams, that's a lot of expenses for just one race.
Sure. No, I get that.
So on that side of it, I'd say no. Entertainment value, we know what the Xfinity Series is. I say hell yes.
Right, absolutely.
But you got to weigh your options. I don't know is the answer right now.
Fair enough. All right, let's get to some listener feedback here. Matt at Camper News Net. I'd love to know if you guys would attend the Bristol Dirt Race weekend in 2022. I've already put my deposit to attend the race. Dustin, you teased it a minute ago. Is this the hot ticket for next year?
I definitely think so. I know I'm going to try and go next year for sure. I think it's going to depend on where it is on the schedule too, because as we've seen with Bristol over the, last decade, the spring race at Bristol has no luck with weather, right? Whether it's rain, snow, whatever. It's just for whatever reason. I mean, I wasn't there this weekend, but from what I saw on Twitter and on TV, like that was some massive flooding.
Yeah.
So I think you got to move it back. I saw an idea thrown out there of switching it with Sonoma, so you'd have early June. And Sonoma, I mean, that track looks beautiful right now with it being green.
Yeah.
I just think it's got to be pushed back because you don't want what happened this weekend. Although a lot of fans, probably most fans, came back Monday, you don't want that to happen again.
No, I'm with you there. I mean, to me, this is probably going to be the equivalent to the build up of the Pocono Double that was supposed to be the big thing this past year that got canceled, unfortunately. But yeah, I foresee this being the hot ticket for sure. Here's the thing. I would love to go to it, but my first race at Bristol has to be the Bristol Night Race. So if I can get to Bristol
this year,
then yeah, that's going to be on the plate. And I want to see this in person. It's an experience, just like seeing a couple races at Eldora was just just an incredible experience. But my first time at Bristol has to be the Bristol Night Race. So
I like your thinking.
Thank you. Let's see here. Brian at Storm and B81. How much better is Suarez and Team Trackhouse? Is he crazy? Are they up in the game? What's going on your thoughts there on Suarez and that team?
Yeah, well, I don't know how many people know this, but essentially that's a third RCR car. So they're working right out of the RCR shop. And I think this year is just all about building for next year, trying to secure a charter, which Justin Marks talked about earlier this week. If they can get that charter, I mean, they're all in clearly with NASCAR right now with Pitbull, being on board. But yes, they've been hit or miss this year. And the last 2 weeks, I know Atlanta, the results don't show it, but the last 2 weeks have been really good. But then you have races like Las Vegas where they really didn't show any speed. Daytona Road Course, they were solid, but if you remember, Suarez threw up in his helmet towards the end, so that's not going to help matters. Homestead, they were so-so. Phoenix really out to lunch. So I think it just depends on the track. And I mean, but this weekend, by far, they were the best RCR affiliated car.
Right.
So,
and never run in dirt before either, really, except for what he ran a modified or something for a day, and that was it.
Yeah, he tested the 6 days prior, so that prior Tuesday. I was very impressed with what he did on dirt because he has no dirt experience. Yep. So, and really that was the case for Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr. I mean, a lot of these drivers just showed up and they had no, little to no dirt experience, but they were the cars to beat and the drivers to beat. So I think that says a lot about the driver talent at the top of the Cup Series.
Absolutely. There could be some criticism from the Trucks here. Oh, Martin Truex Jr., ran away with it. He did. But that made it all that more interesting to watch. Like, how in the world is he doing this? How, can he keep it up? Can he hold on? Mm-hmm. That to me, that just made it that much more fun to watch that truck race because it's like, Martin Truex Jr., are you kidding me? And Larson wrecked out? Like, Lap Traffic fantasy players doubled down, taking Larson for both races and swung and missed, And so, it was just crazy. All these guys, Chase Briscoe, these powerhouses, Stuart Friesen that we expected to be up there that just weren't up there contending. And it was these concrete asphalt guys that went out there and, made a name for themselves, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Stenhouse, he's good at Bristol anyways, but him and Ryan Newman really the ones representing the dirt side of things, and they did well. It was their best outings of the year. Newman's first top five since the fall of 2019. So they represented themselves well and represented the dirt community well. But, overall, I was just very surprised. It's not how I would have expected the race to go. I picked Kyle Larson to win. And had he not gotten that incident, I think he would have ran away with it.
Sure.
Because he went from 40th to 4th in 45 laps. So I think they're lucky he got in that accident.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you there. Jess at Iowa NASCAR fans, Denny's decision to not move Logano, did getting booed at Martinsville after Chase and that incident change his driving mindset? What do you think?
I don't think it changed him. I know he said publicly that's like the biggest regret he's had at the cup level since entering NASCAR. But, even since then, I mean, the next year at Martinsville, him and Joey Logano had a tussle in the pit road. I was there. It was, so they've always, and you think of Fontana when Hamlin broke his back in 2013. Yeah. Bristol was I think that was the week before that. Back then, I think Bristol was the fourth race of the year. So these two have had a rivalry. I was surprised, though, to not see Hamlin move the bumper or, use the bumper, I should say. Yeah. Because over the radio, I was listening to the Blevins radio and Chris Gabehart essentially said, you've got the most aggressive guy in this series in front of you. Find a way by him. Yes. And Hamlin on the restart elected to use the top lane. So And it cost him a position. I was surprised. I don't think it has anything to do with how he and Elliott raced in 18?
18, yeah. Do you think the fact that it was on dirt, like if it was a normal Bristol race, I think he moves him? Like, was it, all the hype and the dirt, and I at least want to get a good finish myself? Like, do you think do you think if it was if it was just on a normal Bristol race, does that change at all, do you think there?
I don't think so. I mean, and Denny has, he races hard, but he's never had the people don't know him to be a guy to move people out of the way.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't race that way. So
Sure.
when he said that post race, he wasn't lying. But it was surprising given that it was Joey Logano. And Joey Logano probably would have moved Denny Hamlin out of the way. So
yes.
I don't know. If roles were reversed, I'd have been curious to see what happened.
Sure, for sure. All right, real quick, let's just do a quick 60-second because I think this will come back up down the road a lot. Came out about the potential of rain tires, and I don't want people to lose their mind over that because they did flat out say, just a dampened track, not running rain tires on an oval, on a monsoon or anything like that. Were you surprised to see that? Do you think it's something we really could see? I know they said as soon as a couple weeks they might be able to get something going with this.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere. I had heard nothing about this until they announced it earlier this week. When was it, Tuesday? I haven't seen quotes or anything from Chris Buescher or Kyle Larson yet to see how it ran. I was very surprised by it. More surprised that they said that it can be ready for Richmond, which is 2 weeks away.
Yep.
That's a quick turnaround, especially at a track where they've never tested it at. I know we've tried doing this in the past. I think Terry Labonte, like 20, 25 years ago, did a similar test at Martinsville. And it didn't, I guess it didn't work because we never used it. So, I think Martinsville is a place you could probably get away with it. I don't know anywhere else besides that. Richmond would be curious because there is some banking there. It is flat primarily.
What about Indy? I mean, that's a real flat track.
The oval or the road course?
Either or.
I
don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oval, I would say no because you're hauling ass on that front stretch and back stretch.
No, yeah, that's true. Yeah. I think it's not so much now that you say that. It's not just necessarily the banking, but it's also how much speed are you carrying. That's going to play a role in that. So shorter track, something like that might play a role.
But I do think you're going to slide the tires. I mean, we saw it the other day. I know you're on dirt and the track's slick, but Derek Krause, for instance, in the truck race, he came out of nowhere 10 seconds later from when, John Hunter Nemechek wrecked or got wrecked and still plowed into the accident. So I with a slicker racetrack being water on it, rain in this case, I mean, I don't know how it would go. And also you can only learn, I feel so much from only having a few cars as a test.
Yes. Yep.
Whether that's Goodyear tire or next gen car, I think you need to get more on the track. So I'll be curious to see if it happens. Well, obviously, let's hope not for rain.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sick of the rain.
Yes. Oh, I am with you. Yeah, I am with you. All right. Let's hit a little social media real quick. Everybody, make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com. Go to jayski.com. You can follow on Twitter at laptrafficpc, at Dustin Albino, at Jayski, all the good stuff there. Let's see. The giveaways, about 150 so away from a couple giveaways. Hit some shout outs on Tuesday's show. Got t-shirts, mugs, all that good stuff. And of course, if you want a free Lap Traffic koozie and some stickers, all you got to do, hit me up and I will mail them out to you for free. Let's see. Dustin, anything else you want to plug real quick before we move along?
I think you covered that pretty well, my man.
I've done it once or twice. All right, man. Let's quickly talk about our horrible March Madness boys here. Syracuse out, Michigan out. What happened to Syracuse?
Well, I don't know if I'd call it horrible. Of course, if you don't make it to the Final Four, specifically win the championship, it's a wasted year for our schools, two of the bigger basketball schools in the country.
Yep.
But Syracuse, man, from where they started the year, where they it was the day after Thanksgiving, and they barely beat Bryant by 1 point. They beat them. They were losing the whole game to where they ended the year. I mean, it was such a 180, almost a 360. Honestly, it was, Buddy Boeheim. I think people finally know who he is, and he's not just Jim Boeheim's son, and he's not on the team because of his father. Unfortunately, they ended in the Sweet 16, but they barely made the tournament. And they showed real potential. Now, unfortunately, this transfer portal, I don't know how it's going to affect Michigan.
Right. Oh.
But it's affecting Syracuse because two players that are, key contributors to the team have already entered it for next year, which,
well, I know we're losing Smith. We're losing, it's possible we could lose Wagner. Who knows what Isaiah Liver does? Michigan started the year unranked and just moved all the way up to, I think they got as high as second during the regular season. They were the favorite a few weeks before the Big Ten tournament started. They were the favorite to win the championship on like DraftKings, all that kind of stuff. And then the ankle injury to Isaiah Livers. Then it was like, all right, well, let's hope they get to the Sweet 16. My thing was, if they had lost, fine. But man, to just go on like a drought of like a 4 minutes at the end of that game against UCLA to not make a basket, miss layups, have the opportunity to put them away. It was heart-wrenching just to see them go out in that fashion. It would have been one thing if they were, undermatched or whatever, but they just played a sloppy game. I don't even know if Isaiah Livers had played in that game, if that would have made the difference or anything. So
good for UCLA, though. I mean,
absolutely.
They won the game, and same case with Houston beating Syracuse. Now they're going to the Final Four. Both are really good teams, and that's a thing with Power Five. The Big Five team, the Big Five conferences being like 11, 12 seeds. Like that's not an upset to get to the Sweet 16, in my opinion. For UCLA. I mean, it's still a viable basketball program. So. I mean, I don't know. They're an 11 seed, but they're really probably should be like a 7 or 8.
Sure. Oh, next year, man. Always next year, right?
That's what I always say too. But then, next year's not looking good right now. So.
All right, man. Let's, guys. Dustin's a big wrestling fan. I'm a big wrestling fan. Yes. So WrestleMania right around the corner. First of all, I wanted your thoughts on this. Like when WWE came out with the network back in 2014, I signed up day one. Like I was a subscriber the whole time. Like I loved everything about it. I loved the original content. I loved being able to go and search, and I loved all of the pay-per-views from, WCW, ECW. I loved everything about it. Moving over to Peacock, it doesn't seem like it's going to be as big of a library in terms of that stuff, original content. Like it may just be for the pay-per-views now is what it may seem like.
Well, they're still going to have a library, but also, I don't know, did you watch Fastlane on Peacock or on the network?
I watched it on the network.
Okay, I did too, and this is going to be an issue because on Peacock, as of right now anyway, on the WWE portion, you can't rewind a live show.
Oh, that's a bummer.
And with all these 3:30 start times in NASCAR, I mean, I have to watch them the next day, I guess, it is what it is. Yeah. But I feel like that's an easy fix for Peacock to do because that's not going to upset me and you. That's going to upset a lot of people.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, man. 2-day card again. WWE did that last year with WrestleMania, with doing it in the not the Thunderdome then. It was the Performance Center. They had WrestleMania. Split it up over 2 days, which I get. They're doing that again. What do you think of that format? What are some matches you're looking forward to, not looking forward to?
I feel like I'm a good one to ask about this because I was at the last WrestleMania. That was the longest WrestleMania in history at 35. That was in New Jersey. That was a 7.5 hour experience.
It's a long time, man. Plus getting there, getting out, like that's a.
Oh my God. Yeah, there was being in a big city like that, New York City. I mean, and 80,000 people.
Yep.
I mean, I heard so many travel nightmares from that experience. Luckily, I wasn't, fortunately, I wasn't one of those. But with this card, I don't know. It just doesn't seem, it's a great card. It really is a great card. And it could be an all-timer, I think, in terms of, in-ring products. But the storylines have just lacked so much outside of Roman, the triple threat with Roman Reigns, Edge, Daniel Bryan. The Bad Bunny, the Miz one has been okay. I'm shocked I'm saying that.
Yeah.
the Fiend and Orton's really good.
I mean, that's the one I'm most like. What are they going to do? Like, I was wondering if they were going to do like the cinematic matches, like we got the Undertaker last year, which was, I mean, that just took my breath away. Like, I loved everything about that graveyard match. It was perfect. It was a great way to keep the Undertaker stock alive in terms of, we didn't see any, fatigue, because who knows how long it took him to actually film that. But, it's a story.
I think it was 8 hours.
Was it really? That's
crazy. They did it in the middle of the night.
I didn't like that Funhouse match last year. I couldn't, like, I was so confused. I didn't know what I was really watching. Like, I didn't know what to expect with it. Like, graveyard match, I knew what they were going to do. Like, I had no idea what they were going to do with it. Like, I get it was like a mental game thing, but just because that was like the last thing I thought they were going to do, I didn't know. So, but I was surprised they don't have that type of a format for any of their matches this year.
I'm surprised right off that then. I'm surprised they don't have another Funhouse match with Orton, because the story's there. Him and Orton and Wyatt have been rivals for years. They've had a bunch of storylines in the past, just like Wyatt and Cena did.
Yep.
You just bring it up and and Orton's also, an older statesman, really good wrestler, hitting on all cylinders right now. Probably the best he's ever been on the mic. I just feel like that'd be a perfect match. But I get now that you're having fans in attendance. I mean, I'm curious to see how the match is going to go. But all these other matches are hot shot, like within the last 2 or 3 weeks, and that's just, there's no build to it.
Right.
Even Sasha and Bianca, which I think should main event the first night. There's no story there, really. There has been over the last week now, but they've been building it for 8 weeks.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you on that one. Like, Cesaro, Rollins, that seems a little thrown together.
They've been building it a little bit.
Owen, Sami Zayn, I am looking forward to that match just because I don't like Sami Zayn, and I don't like him for the right reason, and that's because
he's annoying.
He's annoying, and that's
his character's awesome.
Yes, so that's what they want from me in that. So he does an amazing job with that, and I love Kevin Owens. Like, that is going to be a fight, and I'm looking forward to that one. I know I'm going to take maybe a little heat on this, but I'm looking forward to the Braun Strowman match, because there's just going to be some crazy ass bump that Shane takes. Braun's going to like flip the ring over upside down or something with some hydraulic thing. I'm just curious what they do with it. Like, Shane McMahon's the new Triple H, I think. Like, he's just going to have a WrestleMania match or something, it seems like, but
I don't really get it. I get that he's, the chairman's son, but he's in his mid-50s.
Right.
So I'll give it all to him, though. Like, he takes some crazy bumps, like you said. And I see a bump coming off the top of the cage coming for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Did you hear, I saw this today on, I think it was Insider or whatever. There is talk going around of adding a mask to Alexa Bliss so that she kind of has like her, on the swing and then transforms just like the Fiend does. And
that'd be cool.
Pretty excited about that. Like, they could just, the direction they could take this character is just unbelievable.
And the Alexa Bliss character too, like, she's playing this perfectly.
Oh,
if she doesn't get some kind of acting job out of this, I don't know what else she has to do, because it's incredible.
Yeah.
And she's selling it. She sold it for 3 months while the Fiend wasn't there. So it's really good. That is a good storyline that they've been building since November. So I like long-term storytelling. The Universal Championship's long-term, 10 weeks. So there's a couple good stories, but it doesn't feel like a WrestleMania where all the stories kind of culminate and then it's the end of the stories and you start new ones the next week.
No, I'm with you there. And we don't have a Money in the Bank challenge that could throw a wrench. There's not a lot of wrenches coming out of this. Like, I mean, so your call on the Universal. Like this, I mean, you've got this feeling like Edge is going to get it, right? And I hate when I
beats Bryan.
You know, when that yes, he beats Bryan, right? You know, I don't like. The one thing I don't like about the WWE Championship match is I don't like The Miz is so good, and I actually feel bad for The Miz that he was interjected to get the title to then just drop it right away. Like that's just
transitional champion,
you know, like a 2-day transitional champion. Like, you know, he's. To me, that's like all, you know, The Miz has been around 12 years, you know, mic work, you know, he's kind of like Sami Zayn. People don't like him because he's so good and he draws that out of you. And he is a workhorse. Like, to me, like, I get, hey, he's getting a paycheck and he's going to do what the boss says. But it's like, you know, to me, that was a little disrespectful to somebody that's been in the industry and worked as hard as he has to just like, hey, you know, we don't want to have somebody else look bad. We want to keep their strength of character strong. So we're going to do it this way.
But on the flip side of that, too, he is getting a match against Bad Bunny, who, I'll be honest, before Royal Rumble, when she performed it, I honestly did not know who Bad Bunny was.
Nope, I'm with you.
But turns out he's one of the biggest superstars, you know, globally right now. So, you know, I've looked at his Instagram numbers, and some of his stuff the videos he posts gets millions of views. So The Miz is going to get that rub, I think.
Sure.
So it's not all bad for The Miz.
I love it, man. Yes. Oh, all right. Well, here's hoping. Another funny side note. I was scheduled. I had tickets. I was going to go to SmackDown last March in Detroit. That was the very first live show they canceled was the Detroit SmackDown.
So get this. So the week before that, the SmackDown was in Buffalo. I was there. And luckily, my best friend from college works for WWE. He works in the communications team.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so he hooks me up with tickets. And I also went to the pay-per-view that weekend, Elimination Chamber, which was in Philadelphia.
That's so
cool.
So
I was at 2 of the 3 final events that they had
before
the pandemic.
God, I cannot
It's
wait
crazy to think
back.
that was just a year ago. It feels like it's been like 10.
Yeah. Oh, man, I cannot wait to get back to a wrestling event. Like, you know, in the last few, like, I'd say probably the last, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 wrestling shows that I went to. Because if they're here, I'm going. Like, I've gone by myself. My wife has gone with me to a few of them. And
I've gone by myself too.
She's like, "Are you serious? Like, I make a night out of it. I go downtown, I hit the casino up for a little bit, have a couple drinks, go to the show, Uber home." Like, it does not bother me to go by myself. And I won't go if I'm not on the aisle on the ramp. Like, that is the only way to go. And I wonder now, like with COVID and all that, like, are they, you know, once they get that back, you know, are they going to have like the plexiglass up? Like, you know, is it going to be a different ramp experience? You know, like that might not be the hot seat to have anymore.
I'll be curious to see, because I don't think they're going to tour until at least the summer.
Yeah, it's going to be a minute.
Yeah, because they already moved the Thunderdome. They're moving the Thunderdome this week to another to the University of South Florida's arena. So, yeah, I just can't wait to get back. I wasn't totally missing it at the beginning but a lot of that's because, you know, there's all this bad news coming out about the pandemic and all these, you know, all the positive cases coming up and all the unfortunate deaths. So at the time I was like, I'm okay with not going to sporting events right now, but I've certainly missed it.
Absolutely. I'm with you. All right, man. If you're still with us, which we hope you're still with us here after that little wrestling.
Hopefully got through that wrestling rant.
Let's wrap it up. You guys, a ton of feedback on the questions from yesterday here. We'll hit some of them because I know we're running up against it here. So I had put out there, what were your thoughts about Bristol going into the race? What are they now? How many times a year would you be okay with this? We'll start the PETM podcast. Love those boys at PETM. I hopped on their show. I crashed their show last Tuesday night after I was done with mine. Leave them wanting more, not less. Even Eldora faded. And that's kind of what we talked about a little bit ago in terms of the road courses. You know, like what's that fine line to where it's not oversaturated, you know?
I agree. I think this take is spot on.
Yeah, absolutely. Patrick Drawn, 19, my thoughts. I had zero expectation heading into it. Didn't know what to expect, and what are they now? After entering the race Monday, it was fun. How many times a year I'd be okay with it, though? Maybe once a year. I mean, once, twice a year at the right track. The thing is, too, you got to look at the amount of time and the effort and the cost that goes into prepping this.
The cost.
I mean,
cost is the main thing.
Yeah, right?
Like I said with the Xfinity series, like if you're only going to do a one-off, especially with the Cup Series next year where you're going to a new car where it's more expensive, in the long run, it'll be cost effective. You're going to be saving money, but straight up at the beginning, you're going to be spending a lot of money.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So there was talk this week about potentially running this car that they have this year, the current model, next year at Bristol for the dirt race. I don't know if that happens or not. You can kind of see Travis Geisler's head starting to spin when he was asked about it on the Zoom call post race. It's part of the RTA. So yeah, I don't know. I think I personally like it like once or twice a year because you don't want to overdo it.
No, I'm with you there 100%. Let's see here. Kenny at STL Cards, rule forever. I was excited for it. Besides the weather issues, enjoyed it. Make it the all-star or part of an all-star weekend. Make it $1 million race. I mean, that would be a unique thing there. I mean, I know we've used the all-star race as testing for things like Roval courses and things like that. That might be a cool way to throw some money on the line on the dirt. That's not a horrible idea.
That's not a bad idea. I like seeing as the past couple of years now, I like seeing the All-Star race move around. Like this year, it's going to be at Texas. Last year at Bristol. I get the people who say, I should say in Charlotte because it allows for all the families of the teams to come out. And they really don't get to do that much over the duration of the year. So I don't know. I think the Bristol or a dirt race in general could be a good all-star potential landing spot. But I don't know. It should probably be part of the regular season schedule as well.
Sure. No, I'm with you there. Elliot at H Elliot 94. Other than Larson being taken out, I quite enjoyed the race. If they get the bugs worked out, I'd be fine with more dirt races. Hell, swap out the 1.5 miles for all the dirt. I don't care. Then tar and feather the designers of the 1.5 miles. So yeah, I mean that's just taking it to an extreme there, but just kind of what we talked about a little bit ago in terms of 1.5 miles and oversaturation and what fans want and what they don't want, so whatever makes the fans happy, which that's the thing, you're never going to appease everybody. If Twitter, you can only take that for so much from a face value perspective because everybody, keyboard warrior to a degree out there, and it's a fine line. I feel like I've said that 100 times tonight, but it's such a fine line to balance.
Yeah, I don't have much to add from that. But I don't think you swap them all out with the 1.5 miles. No. Because that still is the core, the bulk of the schedule. And it's been greatly reduced over the last couple of years. Like we've gotten Kentucky off the schedule. Yep. Chicago's gone. Chicago's one of the best 1.5 miles. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But, Texas has only got one this year. You added a second in Atlanta. But yeah, I mean, the 1.5 miles are what they are. There's some good races, some duds, but there's a lot of in between as well. I don't know. I don't like that take.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm with you there. Oh, man, I cannot believe that we've been talking for 48 minutes here.
Flies by.
I know it does. Let's close this thing out, man. Dustin, this was a blast. Can't wait to do it again with you. Episode 232 of the Lap Traffic Podcast with Dustin Albino from Jayski.com. Dustin, hit the plugs, hit the social media, all that good stuff.
Yeah, guys, follow me at Dustin Albino on Twitter, at Jayski. It's where we post everything. And, we want one-stop shop. We want you to come to Jayski first for all your racing news. We got everything there, Cup, Truck, Xfinity. Follow at Jayski, at Dustin Albino. And also, like I said, I got some stuff coming to NASCAR.com, so be on the lookout for that as well.
All right, Lap Traffic Nation, I still got a quarter of a beer left, but the vodka may be gone. I'm just going to put that out there right now. I'll finish it while I'm wrapping this thing up. Everybody, make sure you check out the website, thelaptrafficpodcast.com. TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, all at LapTrafficPC. Huge thanks to Dustin Albino for calling in next Tuesday. So excited. The Orange Cone and NASCAR Chasm will be back along with Dustin in a couple weeks. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Make sure you tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast. See ya.